Hi everyone, welcome back to Moonlight Mysteries. I'm your host, Jackie Mage, and today's video covers one of many haunted locations within the Appalachian Mountains. This mountain range is in the eastern United States and holds a plethora of creepy paranormal encounters, including today's topic, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Alright, grab your favorite snack and prepare to dive into the dark history and paranormal activities of Appalachia. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, located in Weston, West Virginia, is a massive and imposing structure that operated as a psychiatric hospital from 1864 till 1994. Originally designed to house 250 patients in more humane conditions, the asylum became infamous for severe overcrowding, with the population peaking at over 2,400 in the 1950s. This led to deplorable conditions, patient mistreatment, and numerous deaths. The asylum's dark history includes lobotomies, electric shock therapy, and other now outdated and brutal treatments. Today, the asylum is a popular site for ghost tours and paranormal investigations, with many visitors and investigators reporting eerie phenomena such as disembodied voices, shadowy figures, and unexplained cold spots. The building's haunted reputation is fueled by the tragic and often violent experiences of the patients who lived and died within its walls, making it one of the most notorious and haunted locations in the United States. The Ghost of Lily. Lily is perhaps the most famous spirit at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Legend has it that Lily was either born to a patient at the asylum or was abandoned there as a young child, spending her entire short life within its walls. The story goes that she died of pneumonia at around 9 years old, a common fate in the unsanitary and overcrowded conditions of the asylum. Her room is now a focal point of paranormal activity, often filled with toys and a small bed, as if to comfort her spirit. Visitors often report feeling a cold presence, and some have even claimed that toys left in the room move on their own. Balls have been seen rolling across the floor without any apparent cause, and many visitors have heard the sound of a child's laughter or even felt a small hand tugging at their clothing. Investigators have captured EVPs in the room, with a young girl's voice responding to questions, lending credence to the belief that Lily's spirit remains active within the asylum. The Civil War Soldier. Before it became a psychiatric hospital, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum site was used as a military post during the Civil War. It's said that during this time soldiers were stationed there and some met their end on the property. One of these soldiers, whose spirit is frequently reported, is believed to have died in a skirmish on the grounds. Visitors have described seeing a man in a worn, tattered Civil War uniform, appearing confused or lost as he wanders the old hallways. He is often seen in the area that was once used as the Civil War section of the hospital, now part of the main building. Witnesses sometimes feel an intense cold when the soldier appears, and some have reported hearing the faint sound of marching or a distant call, even when no historical reenactments are taking place. This spirit is believed to be unaware of its death, still trapped in the chaos and confusion of his final moments during the war. The Ghost of Ward 2. Ward 2 of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum housed some of the most violent and disturbed patients. The conditions in this ward were harsh, with patients often subjected to isolation, restraint, and various forms of treatment that would be considered inhumane today. The ward has become infamous for its heavy and oppressive atmosphere, with many visitors reporting an overwhelming sense of dread upon entering. Numerous shadowy figures have been seen darting in and out of the rooms down the hallways. These figures are usually described as dark humanoid shapes that move quickly and disappear just as suddenly. In some cases, visitors have been physically touched, scratched, or pushed by unseen forces while in Ward 2. Paranormal investigators have recorded significant EVP activity in this area, with voices warning them to get out or expressions of anger. The activity in Ward 2 is believed to be caused by the spirits of former patients who died under tragic and violent circumstances, unable to find peace in the afterlife. The spirit of Ruth. Ruth was a patient at the asylum with a deep-seated hatred for men, likely stemming from trauma or abuse she suffered earlier in life. Even in death, her spirit is said to express this animosity. Ruth's presence is most often felt in the geriatric ward, where she spent her final days. Male visitors frequently report feeling unwelcome in her presence, with some experiencing intense cold spots or even physical sensations like pinching, pushing, or sharp pain as if being jabbed. Some men have also reported hearing a stern female voice telling them to leave or feeling a sense of overwhelming anger when entering the ward. Female visitors, on the other hand, often report a less hostile presence, though the atmosphere in the geriatric ward remains heavy and unsettling. Investigators have captured EVPs believed to be Ruth's voice, expressing her disdain for men. Some believe Ruth's spirit remains in the asylum, unable to let go of the anger and bitterness that consumed her in life. The ghost of Dr. Thomas. Dr. Thomas was one of the asylum's former physicians, and his spirit is said to still walk the halls of the building where he once practiced. Known for his strict and sometimes controversial methods, Dr. Thomas was a prominent figure at the asylum during his tenure. Many believed that his attachment to the place, and perhaps a sense of unfinished business, keeps his spirit bound to the asylum. Visitors have reported seeing a man in a white lab coat walking through the corridors, particularly in the medical wing where treatments and surgeries were performed. Some have even described him as looking similar to historical photographs of Dr. Thomas, which are displayed within the asylum. The ghost of Dr. Thomas is often seen pacing as if he is still on his rounds, checking on patients. People who encounter him often report a sense of unease, as if they're being watched or evaluated. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs in the medical wing, with voices believed to be Dr. Thomas's, speaking in a calm and authoritative tone. The Shadow Man. The Shadow Man is a dark, shadowy figure that is frequently reported in various parts of the asylum. The Shadow Man is often described as malevolent or threatening. Witnesses have described him as a tall, dark figure that appears in doorways, at the end of hallways, or lurking in the corners of rooms. This entity is often associated with a sudden drop in temperature, an intense feeling of dread, and the sense of being watched or followed. Some people who encounter the Shadow Man report feelings of paralysis or an overwhelming urge to flee. Paranormal investigators have captured shadowy forms on video, particularly in the areas known for the most intense activity, such as Ward 2 and the Civil War section. The nature of the Shadow Man is unclear, with some suggesting that it could be a residual energy from the asylum's dark history, while others believed it may be an entirely different, non-human entity attracted to the building's tragic past. Eerie sounds and voices. Throughout the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, visitors frequently report hearing disembodied voices, screams, moans, and other disturbing sounds. These noises are often heard late at night when the building is otherwise silent, amplifying their unsettling nature. Some of the most common reports include the sound of women crying, men shouting in anger or pain, and the echoing of footsteps in empty hallways. In some cases, the voices are clear enough that they seem to be engaged in conversation, though no one is present. Paranormal investigators have recorded numerous EVPs capturing ghostly voices that respond to questions or make chilling statements such as "help me," "don't leave," or "get out." These auditory phenomena are often attributed to the spirits of former patients and staff who endured the horrors of the asylum and are believed to be reliving their experiences, trapped in a loop of time. The sounds are so common that even skeptics have had trouble explaining them away, contributing to the asylum's haunted reputation. Poltergeist activity. Poltergeist activity has been reported in various parts of the asylum, particularly in areas where patients were known to have been mistreated or died under tragic circumstances. Objects are often seen moving on their own, including furniture sliding across the floors, doors slamming shut with no apparent cause, and items being thrown or knocked over. One of the most famous incidents of poltergeist activity involved a group of investigators who witnessed a heavy chair sliding across the floor from one of the treatment rooms, despite no one being near it. Visitors have also reported lights turning on and off by themselves, sudden gusts of wind in closed rooms, and strange tapping or knocking sounds that seem to respond to questions. This type of activity is often attributed to the restless spirits of former patients, particularly those who may have suffered abuse or neglect. The poltergeist phenomena adds an extra layer of fear and unpredictability to the already haunted atmosphere of the asylum. The nurses' quarters. The nurses' quarters is another area of the asylum that is said to be haunted. The quarters, which were once home to the nurses, have a reputation for being one of the more active paranormal hotspots. Visitors have reported seeing apparitions of women in old-fashioned nurse uniforms, walking through hallways or standing at the end of beds. These apparitions are often seen going about their duties as if still caring for patients, unaware that they are no longer alive. In addition to visual sightings, some visitors have reported the smell of antiseptic or medicinal alcohol, as well as the sound of shuffling feet or the faint clinking of metal, like a nurse's cart being pushed down the hallway. Paranormal investigators have also captured EVPs in the nurses' quarters, with voices that appear to be those of female staff discussing patient procedures. The spirits of these nurses are believed to be attached to the asylum due to their long service and the emotional toll of working in such a harsh environment. The ghost of Dean, the murdered patient. One of the more tragic and violent stories from the Trans-Allegheny Asylum is that of Dean, a patient who was brutally murdered by two fellow inmates. Dean was tied to a bed by the other patients, who then fashioned a makeshift noose out of the bed sheets. The men pulled on the sheets until Dean was strangled to death, his life ending in terror and agony. His murder was one of the many violent incidents that plagued the asylum, highlighting the often chaotic and dangerous conditions within the institution. Visitors to the room where Dean was killed report feeling an intense cold, even on warm days, and an overwhelming sense of sorrow and fear. Some have heard choking sounds, cries for help, or the sound of struggling, as if Dean's final moments were being replayed over and over again. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs in the room, with one particularly chilling recording believed to be Dan's voice pleading for mercy. The spirit of Dean is thought to be trapped in the room where he met his tragic end, unable to move on due to the violent and unjust nature of his death. Thank you all for sticking around till the end of the video, and if you want an even deeper dive on the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be coming out with part 2 of Appalachian Mountain ghost stories in the near future. Thank you for watching Moonlight Mysteries, where we discuss all things paranormal, fantastical, supernatural, otherworldly, and more. Bye!